that what happened when the Philistine came, they brought iron metallurgy, the knowledge of iron metallurgy. And that's why archaeology ranks all this stuff when they do theoretical archaeology by Stone Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age, and so on. Because they realize that the Iron Age people have superior technology to the Bronze or Copper Age people. And therefore their weapons can't stand up to the Iron Age. And here's an admission that they don't even have the sophistication of the kind of chariots that the lowland people. But the point is that most people and most traditions feel that's not a Canaanite issue. Gaza is down here, as you know. And so this is here like Philistine area. Not talked about yet, but it's going to come into it. And you see, this is all flat. This is where the Israelis are now, because the Israelis never did conquer the hill country. They only took the flatlands where the Philistines were before. You know the word Palestine? Do you know what word that comes from? Philistine. That's where Palestine comes from. And in Arabic, it's Philistine. Palestine is Philistine land. So it's weird. The modern Palestinians actually are calling themselves Philistines, but they're living in the hill country. The Israelis are calling themselves Israelis, and they're down in the Philistine area. It's totally reversed. You know, it's a weird sort of reversal that has gone on, and Palestine is just an English version of Philistine, a Roman. The British were interested in Greek and Latin, and they read their Roman text, and they knew that the Romans were calling this place on purpose when they eradicated the Jewish presence there, Palestina. They went back to the old Greek name, Philistina, Palestina. And because they knew what we had forgotten, the Philistines were a Greek people, probably Mycenaean. And we know from their pottery and their technology that that's the case. Well, there's a place here called the Emek. Emek means valley. It's a flat area here. So they could run their chariots through there. That's why Galilee is separate, because Galilee is hill country again. This is a valley here, and this is Ephraim, and then down here is flat again, going up this way. So they could run all their chariots around like this, but they couldn't take the hills, because the chariots couldn't go up into the hills. So these are like, the Israelites are like hill country guerrillas. They're like sort of the hillbillies in Kentucky and Tennessee and places like that. But they admit that here, but they got it confused. It's not the Canaanites who have the chariots. It's the Philistines who have the chariots. The Canaanites are primarily a Bronze Age people. So again, there's an error there. But these are traditions which are conserved. We're grateful for what we have, it seems to me, is what I try to imply. Okay, so now they're all at Shiloh, line 18, chapter 18. Somehow they've gotten away from Gilgal. So these are probably, some of those traditions are, again, shrine traditions at Gilgal, and others are shrine traditions at Shiloh. You see, there weren't one temple, there were separate shrines at different places. Bethel, Shiloh, Gilgal, we're getting to remember the names here. And look at what Joshua says to them here. Line 3, how much more time will you waste before taking possession of the land that Yahweh, the God of your fathers, gave to you? And then he's going to divide it up again. So they didn't take very much of anything, even by their own testimony in the ways. They slowly took it over, perhaps, but I don't have the answer to what actually happened. So people say, look, you put everyone to the sword. No, I don't think they did. That's just the advertisement they made for themselves. They may have, but I don't think they did very much. Here the Levites are going to have a separate inheritance. Line 7, the Levites will have no portion with the rest, the tribe of Moses. They will be the priesthood. Gad and Reuben and half Manasseh, you've already got yours across Jordan. So they cast lots, supposedly, at Shiloh before God. And I guess they're sort of searching out the land in some way. And this is a tradition from Shiloh, obviously. But there, Joshua's in camp at Shiloh, not at Gilgal. This is a really difficult book. I think you will agree with me. I mean, it's so difficult that I'm not able to make any sense, except something happened that got the Israelites into the land in some way that they want to celebrate. Benjamin. They did his boundaries and gave his towns. But if you notice, if you look at all these towns in Benjamin, line 27, 28 there, Mitzpah, Jerusalem. Jerusalem they hadn't conquered yet. Gibeah, I think Gibeah was the Gibeonites that we had heard previously. Saul ultimately comes from Gibeah, and so Saul is from Benjamin. By the way, you know why I think Paul says that he comes from Benjamin? Because Saul came from Benjamin, his namesake. There was no Benjamin in Paul's time left. That's just a, how should we put it, an advertisement. Paul's not from any tribe of Benjamin. It's just that the original Saul was from Benjamin, so it's for the unlettered, it's a useful claim to make, people who were wondering about his ancestry. Plus, there's another thing about the Benjamin notation that I don't, you may have seen it in the stuff you're doing, you may have seen it. Benjamin seems to have been a name for the diaspora at one time and later on, because the War Scroll from the Dead Sea Scrolls, which are 1,000 years later, speak of the Benjamin, the diaspora of the desert, it's called. Benjamin, the diaspora of the desert. The camps and the wilderness camps in the desert are called Benjamin in the War Scroll. And I think that also may be where Paul is getting his pretension from there. But anyway, whatever. Simeon, 19. They were taken out of the sons of Judah, line 9, because Judah had too big a share. And then we get Zebulun, Issachar, Asher, all the sons from the sexual relations of Jacob and his daughters. And so now you see, that's a great story, that Jacob and the two wives and the handmaids and everything. It just simplifies it all. How did all these tribes come to be? Oh, well, here's the story of how our ancestor Jacob kept sliding people into his bed. And that's why we've got lesser ones and greater ones, because the greater ones, well, they're the sons of the favorite wife and so on. So, I mean, the storyteller makes marvelous stuff out of all this. Whether it's accurate, it's up to you to decide. And again, I told you at one point, I thought again, since you keep now got me worried about this, poetry is truer than history. A statement one of my professors at college made to me, and it's